Alright, so recently I've been playing some Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, particularly two, but we'll talk about one as well. Got some pre-recorded gameplay in the background of me just grinding through some, whatever they call the classic mode in this, speaking in Smash terms. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like this series, in my eyes, has really redeemed itself. Like, launch first game fell below my expectations, and I didn't even feel like I had too lofty expectations. I understood, it's a smaller studio, smaller budget. You don't have sort of that backlog of games to help you out. But, the Slap City team was involved, and I haven't played that game yet, but I heard it was, decent, similar to a platform fighter. So there was, some experience there. I mean, the game functioned, but it really did just feel like outright shovelware smash. And unless you're like a really big fan of Nickelodeon or whatever series in the game, there's really just no need to play it. I feel like they almost went a quantity over quality-esque approach with their limited resources for the first game. I wonder if they would have been better off, I don't know, cutting the roster and stages in half, but having the gameplay and general quality of life things that the second game has that really make it feel alive and like it can stand on its own. Or hell, if that wasn't even possible, I would have almost rathered if they sort of had a proof of concept, small prototype with only, a handful of characters and stages with, the quality you have here, if it came down to it. Because I just feel like that other approach they had really just deterred a lot of people. And I'm guilty too, of not necessarily even given the second game a fair glance for quite a while. Since based on the first one, I just had a hard time seeing there being anything of value. First impressions are important. It also didn't help with the second game, too. I mean, you saw that they overhauled the engine and the graphics and that, and it looks better. But then the physical edition only originally launched with a download code, so I don't know. I know they eventually went back and did it the right way, but that just leads to a bunch of confusion, and it just shouldn't have happened to begin with. But I guess they at least corrected it. But I don't know if they ever even did a definitive release of the first game physically, too. That's what I'm kind of thinking. Because I did play it a bit more, like post all the, updates and new content and that. And it was quite a bit closer to the second game, in my opinion, and just wasn't as bad as I remembered it. But just sort of thinking, one of those poor preservation moments of having, not a good experience with 1.0 of the first game and just having the code single use for the second. And then some of the questionable roster choices too, which just kind of led to a bunch of controversy and drama. It just seemed like everything was still a mess from what I was seeing when it came out. Didn't help too. Two of my favorite characters to play as in the first game were Leonardo and Oblina, two of the cuts. Cat Dog was pretty disappointing to see gone too, especially since I really wanted to have a Cat Dog versus Angry Beavers fight. And you got one in one game and one in the other, so maybe someday. We got Squidward, though. That was probably the most glaring omission to me, and probably my most wanted for the second game. Hugh Neutron felt like an odd exclusion, too. I don't know, maybe they just really wanted someone to be exclusively DLC for the first game, but felt he was a fun character, fan favorite. I mean, Jimmy Neutron's one of the few shows. Like I said, this is coming from a biased point of view because I was a Jimmy Neutron fan growing up, but it was one of the few shows to get a spin-off series and just sort of the impact it had on 3D animation. I think it was all CGI, wasn't it? It's like one of the first, or at least one of the first to, do a really good job and see a lot of success, at least at this scale of a TV show. Obviously, that Toy Story and stuff was big too. I don't even know if I'm, explaining or remembering that correctly. I'm not like super knowledgeable about that sort of thing. But I kind of remember, seeing just retrospectives or video essays that kind of alluded to that. Overall, though, I had the opportunity to try it out, and I thought, I was maybe going to try out Squidward, my most wanted, and that might be about it. But I wound up having a lot of fun and just buying the whole game. This game, content-wise, reminds me a lot of Melee. You have, similar number roster and stages, a lot of overlapping game modes, like you saw me do, I think it's like pop the slime balloon or something, but it's target smash, which we haven't seen in the last several Smash entries. And they do it the good way too, the Melee way. Granted, I don't know if the design was as, like, I didn't find myself using, a character's unique abilities as much as I felt like I did in Melee when completing all the target challenges. But it's a step in the right direction and very welcoming. It brought a smile to my face, honestly. It's been way too long since you've, seen the mode just like that, the way I feel like a lot of people prefer it. There is a multi-man smash and race to the finish-esque modes, but they are exclusive to the story modes. You can't play them independently, which is a little weird, I guess. I do feel like we're a little closer here than we are in Smash to maybe putting together those race to the finish and the multi-man maps and having, a platforming adventure mode / subspace emissary-esque game mode without, some of the more generic enemies and backgrounds we saw the last couple times in Smash, particularly the backgrounds and settings in that. But I will say flat out, too, that, like, I know that new story mode or whatever they called it was another big selling point, but I just didn't initially find it to sound all that appealing. And it took me a couple of tries to kind of get into it. But once I did, I did wind up really liking and appreciating it. I felt like there was a lot of the multi-man Smash-esque battles. I didn't find them as fun this time either. It got a little fatiguing. Although I did like the bit of a different approach they had with having sort of a shield break system. Another thing I wish with the campaign mode is I wish maybe at rest points you can switch characters or something to keep things a little fresh. Or if, you're not gelling with a character or you just like a lot of variety. I'll even say at the end of a couple of runs, I was kind of like, I'm kind of sick of playing this character for right now. I do find some of the content distribution to be odd between some of the series. Like, you expect the bigger series to, have more content, like the different shops, boss fights, that sort of thing. And looking at that, you might think that something like El Tigre is bigger than stuff like Rugrats, Garfield, Jimmy Neutron. I was only aware of El Tigre because I just saw people talking about it in character speculation. And unfortunately, I feel like he was one of the least interesting newcomers. There was a lot of potential there, but I think it just kind of wound up just being a lot of claw attacks. There is one cool grapple attack, but that's about it. And I don't know, I feel like you got other characters who, have that, clawing-esque abilities. And Rugrats, I mean, we did get a Tommy cameo in Reptar's entrance cutscenes, and I guess there's like a rumor that they don't want the babies fighting, but it's like, I don't know, could they maybe have like an all-grown-up variant, or could they throw in... I think Stu could be pretty fun. He's a toy inventor. They can have some fun with the moveset there. Maybe they can get away with Angelica, or have like Cynthia as a fighter even. And even if you want to go the fighter route for whatever reason, the fact that there isn't at least, a Rugrats character running a shop, I mean, I just feel like It's a, huge show for Nickelodeon history, Didn't they like reboot it recently too? We at least got some items, I guess, and I'm surprised. Well, maybe not surprised, but I liked the Teeter Totter Gulch stage from the first Nick Brawl, so I was a little bummed out. I don't like the new stage that much, but wish we got to keep that stage too. Loud House got 2 stages with 1 rep, so I don't see how Rugrats can't. Back to game modes, though. I think I forgot to mention All-Star modes here, too. I will say it's a little different here. Not in the format, but just in its difficulty. It's pretty tough. To me, in this game, the challenge was more just clearing it, not, clearing it with all characters like it normally is in Smash. Although I don't know if part of that had to do with some of the stages. I'll admit, I'm not really a fan of a lot of the stages in this game. They kind of went, a bigger stage approach here, which I tend to not like as much. Granted, that there are like a lot of competitive variants of every stage to select from, even outside of Battlefield and Final Destination. Like Smash, they have like a Hazardless Pokemon Stadium variant, Smashville variant. I think there might be 1, maybe 2 more. Not 100% sure. I appreciate that, and I kind of appreciate the concept they have of a lot of the returning stages from the first one essentially kind of being expanded. So the center of the stage will be like it was last time, but now on the left and right, it's just blown up, and now there's more to it. I don't know if that's the best way to put it. Hopefully you kind of get... Well, this is an example. This was... The center, I think, was about all there was to the stage in the first one. But then, like I said, now there's areas to the left and the right. But yeah, like I said, I'm kind of mixed on that because I feel like a lot of the stages are less fun here, but I do at least appreciate the concept and the unique direction. I almost wish there was like small variants or something, especially considering, like I said, a lot of these stages already had those types of variants in the first game. Or maybe not a lot, but at least a decent amount. Even the CPUs get like a little messy on some of the stages too, because there's just, so much there. Maybe, a weird runoff or something, In general, though, I feel like all of the characters, like their movesets and that, I mean, I was able to spot a lot more references, and there's a lot of different gimmicks. Once again, a lot might be a little too strong. I don't know, maybe like a quarter-ish of the characters. I didn't, count it up. And maybe there's gimmicks I didn't even notice. And, most of them I felt like worked out all right. I know that's something that can be hit or miss depending on what it is or, whoever's opinion it is. And, you have voices this time too. I know that was updated in the first one, but that definitely helps add, so much personality and life to things. Most people sound exactly how you would imagine them to sound too. A couple might be slightly off. I don't know how many of, the original voice actors they were able to get. I do wonder with Ren and Stimpy in particular. I haven't watched it in a really long time. I apologize if I, mix up, their names or concepts. But I feel like Ren in this game does most of the talking. I think I did hear Stimpy have 1 line. I didn't go in depth. There could obviously be more lines, but it was just kind of noticeable. And I don't know, maybe they're trying to hide up. Maybe they weren't able to get Stimpy's voice down just right. Because, yeah, I'm pretty sure they were both pretty talkative in the show. Although, once again, I could be remembering stuff wrong. I haven't probably watched it in like 2 decades, so... Speaking of audio, though, I think most, if not all, the music in this game is original, and I think they do a good job of sort of matching, a tone that works for, the different aesthetics and series. I just do find it a little interesting. I mean, I don't know, compared to like Smash, a video game where it's a lot of instrumentals, maybe you just don't have a lot more to, work with. There might just be more issues with like vocalist and that sort of thing. Although with some series, like SpongeBob in particular, I know, but I'm pretty sure Jimmy Neutron's had games, Avatar's had games. You might have stuff to pull there for music. I don't know if they did or not. I think that would be kind of a shame. Like, I can imagine the Jellyfish Fields theme from Battle for Bikini Bottom being perfect for the stage in this game, which is a missed opportunity, but there could be licensing issues there too. I'm not going to hold them too at fault for that. Because, yeah, this isn't published by THQ or THQ Nordic, Embracer, whatever they are now. They did take a shot at a brand new game mode here. It's kind of a... I mean, actually, if you were watching the gameplay, you already saw me do it, but it's like you have to try to smash as many bots as possible within a time limit, and they keep sort of just popping up around the stage. I think it could be better. You're supposed to avoid the red ones. I think they should have like gold ones or something, like ones you want to particularly target and have to decide, do I get this one that's about to disappear or get this golden one that will also, not be there too long but get me more points? I don't know. It works okay and it's something, but I don't know. Oh, heck, I don't know what happened there. I beat all of them up without even touching them. Wasn't that Switzerland, I think, in Melee? You got like an achievement in adventure mode, I think. Well, probably classic mode too, but I just remember always doing it on the ice climber stage. But yeah, I don't know. I guess, I would rather, a minigame like Home Run Contest, though. Although that probably isn't my top choice for what modes I want to see them, have their own interpretation of next. I would like to see them particularly do event mode. Because even in the story mode, they have all sorts of unique interactions for like when you're facing a brainwashed fighter, when you're interacting with shopkeepers, or about to face a boss. And I would love to see something like that in, predetermined event matches. And that's something I feel like would work better here because with Smash, you have a lot of characters that don't really talk. So it doesn't really work that well here. But this is something that this game can sort of use to distinguish itself in its own way. Assist are another thing I would like to see too. That's probably, I guess there's like probably Special Smash and the Trophy Gotcha machine or whatever that also aren't here. But like I said, a lot of the stuff, big stuff from Melee is here. But yeah, because Melee did have Pokeballs, which kind of also eventually had, the split into assist trophies. So that's something, that's something they've had since the beginning. So not a super big deal, but that's probably the most surprising thing, I guess, that I would have thought they would have had by now. Especially, once again, with all of just how great of, a resource that is to bring in other fan-favorite characters and that sort of thing. Another area I will give the game some credit, though, in is its costume selection. I would say that is another area where I feel like it has, a little bit of an edge over Smash. I kind of like the concept, too. They have, a brainwashed alt that you can unlock from, the repeating a battle in story mode against someone you already unlocked. But I kind of like the idea of maybe making that like a cosmetic you can apply to any costume. It's kind of like the final Smash glow. You can maybe change the color or whatnot, too. I don't know if it would affect this game's version of Final Smashes, which pretty much use the meter system that was added in Ultimate. I will say some of the cutscenes are kind of long. I kind of wish, you can, they were quicker. You can speed them up or skip them. I forget if you glow when your meter is ready, though. But yeah, I guess you can always just maybe lock out that one color so that, if it's green, you're ready for your super attack or whatever color they want to use. Actually, thinking of the campaign mode, again, too, with having multiple characters, like I think maybe having a tag team where you keep all your, well, you already keep all your damage, but since you do keep all your damage, that can maybe be fun. Or I guess you can unlock more stocks, but, have them be different characters in that. Sorry to go back to that after sort of moving on to other stuff, but I don't know. It just kind of came to mind right now. Although, I don't know. I can't think of anything right now else to say. I just hope they're able, keep this momentum going and somehow build up their image, No controversies next time around. And somehow, spread the word that, no, the game's good now. It'll be hard, though, especially with the general reputation I feel like a lot of licensed games get. Kind of got a double whammy of, non-optimal circumstances. But, hey, some games have, repaired their images after troublesome past, and some licensed games have been able to stand out and be respected. So hopefully they find a way to do both.